because I was going to say everything you said, but I won't repeat it. I really appreciate everything that everybody's doing. But have a unique perspective coming from a high school senior at Novato High, who is pretty heavily connected with kids across town virtually. And it's pretty neat. They'll say it's going pretty well. They're pretty amazed. They're working, and they might be in their pajamas, but they're working, and they're getting things done. And interestingly, when I asked him, it's kind of funny what he said. Keep building. Keep building the buildings. Okay, we'll do that. But no, he's very, very happy things are continuing, because you can imagine feeling so untethered. I mean, it's bad enough for us, but it's really bad for those kids, especially the older kids who are so used to being social.
Right. Thank you. I skipped you, Trustee Mac. Apologize for
That's
that.
okay.
All right. We will move on to our non-agenda public comment. I did receive 3 non-agenda public comments. So the plan was they were sent to me and I will read them, and we'll go from there. All right.
Before we move on to that, could I make a comment?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yes. We're all new at this, so I'm skipping people. I apologize.
That's okay. We'll get through it. So a few things I want to talk about. One, our state superintendent, Tony Thurman, sent out a letter this afternoon to the county superintendents and superintendents. And in that letter, he made a statement about how he didn't anticipate that school would be in session until the end of the school year. And so, it's important to note that Superintendent Thurman did not make a decision that schools will be closed until summer. He did not make a decision or a recommendation that schools would be closed until summer. He shared his feelings as a person, as the superintendent, in that regard. And so I know that's creating a lot of confusion in not only our community, but in others. I want you to hang in there until we get official decisions from folks, rather than reacting to a newspaper article with a headline that says that schools will be closed until summer when that decision really hasn't been made. Debbie, you talked a little bit about the virtual town hall meeting. I think that was well received. I'm glad that we took the time and effort to make that happen. I want to share that we will be doing another virtual town hall after spring break. It'll be more of an ed services focused town hall meeting to answer some of the questions about virtual learning, hear from our community about how that's going. So that'll happen after spring break. We don't have that exactly scheduled yet. We want to get some information from CDE, some guidance from them about important things like grades before we hold that session. But that's coming up. I want to echo what Debbie said. We're in unprecedented times, and I think Nevada Unified School District's doing a great job. I'm super proud of all the employees that are showing up and working hard. And really, the reality is that we have some that are working too hard, and they aren't taking care of themselves, and they aren't taking care of their families because they're committing too much of their time and energy to this work, and we've got to help them find that sweet spot. So we will work on that. We are going to have a professional development day on April 13th. That's not something that's been scheduled in advance. Like usually our professional development days are known before the school year started. This is just something that as this new world has evolved, as it's gone from 2 weeks to 3 weeks to 6 weeks, we know that we need to spend some time with our teachers, give them some opportunities to access some training, give them some opportunities to access some collaboration time with their grade level teams or their department teams. So that's going to happen on April 13th. That's the Monday after spring break. And I think another important thing is that we continue to do the work of the district. We're still hiring teachers. We're still making sure that we're wrapping up the 1920 school year as best we can, and then also preparing for the 2021 school year and everything that comes with that. So just know that you're in good hands. We're making all the right decisions, even though we're in this weird, unprecedented time. So thank you, everybody. And one last thing, thank you to everybody who's taking the social distancing and shelter in place thing seriously. I think if we have a chance to get back to school, that is our only chance. And I'm just really proud of California and the Bay Area in particular for taking the lead on making this happen. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we will move on to non-agenda public comment. I'm going to read these in the order that I received them, and I'm going to stick with the 3 minutes that we allot. I do have the timer on my phone. Hopefully you'll hear it ring. I don't know if it will bring sound off or not. Usually I have my phone on silent, but I'm going to start it. This is first public comment is from Tina McMillan. This is non-agenda, and it says, Trustees and Superintendent Koska, I must decline your invitation to attend tonight's board meeting in person. I am providing my comments via email out of respect for the urgency of the shelter-in-place guidelines, and I hope you will consider doing the same by using platforms such as Zoom to conduct future board meetings. The COVID-19 crisis has changed virtually every aspect of our lives. I appreciate all that district trustees, administrators, staff, and educators are doing to teach students remotely, provide food to children that would otherwise be without meals, and continue to run the district. I would like to thank Assistant Superintendent Yancey Hawkins, Communications and Community Engagement Director Leslie Benjamin for their outreach, response, and professional behavior. NUSD is fortunate to have staff that communicates with respect for the entire community. In December 2019, I reached out to the board and Superintendent Koska with concerns about the district putting a parcel tax measure on the March ballot. The election provided time to understand the need to develop a comprehensive fiscal recovery plan before asking for any increase or extension to local education taxes. I had hoped that the following areas would be discussed during the March 17th board meeting. And then she lists the areas. A comprehensive fiscal recovery plan, including how the district will put money back into reserves, increases in class size to offset costs and maintain programs, elimination of trustee health insurance to reduce costs, elimination of guaranteed raises for top administrators to keep costs from rising, consolidation of an elementary campus to reduce costs and provide revenue. In response to a question about legislation at the state level that could bring more revenue to the district, contrasting the small amount of revenue from the Schools and Communities First initiative versus 100% of the funding that would be derived from the Full and Fair Funding Initiative, along with guaranteed increases to the local control funding formula base. The position of the California Chamber of Commerce, Howard Jarvis taxpayers, and other business organizations lobbying against the Schools and Communities First initiative, other state legislation that could increase funding to NUSD, such as AB 2646, Levine's bill to change the way ADL impacts basic LCFF funding, and lobbying to put AB 39 back in play. Follow-up information about the parcel tax failure, including the wealth disparity in school districts with education parcel taxes, and making this method of funding an example of the lack of equity in California's education funding. The Novato voters don't have the same financial resources as Southern Marin voters, and so when you say we have the lowest funding in Marin, you should really be discussing comparable communities with similar socioeconomic demographics, such as those in Sonoma County. Please note that big cuts have been foreseeable since pension and other costs began increasing in 2014, and reserves were spent down from 22% to between 10% and 8% through 2020. That is 3 minutes that I have reached. So I'm going to stop there. What I'll do is I will send it on to the rest of the board. When the meeting's done, I will send all the public comment that we received on to the board after we're done here. The second public comment I received is from Julia Lavaroni. Given the impact, trustees and Superintendent Koska, given the impact of COVID-19 on business and personal economies, the urgency to control expenditures and fight for reform at the state level becomes more crucial. The district should be reconsidering an elementary school closure, increasing class size to the state union mandated caps, and eliminating guaranteed raises for administrators. Strong advocacy for reform at the state and county levels needs to be a part of the discussion for long-term solutions. Discussions need to be intellectually honest and evolve into meaningful actions. Members of the public are willing to collaborate and have done significant research, have legitimate concerns and input, and represents a large section of the public who are stakeholders in this discussion. What avenues for this collaboration are you considering? Thank you, Julia Lavaroni. All right. the final comment is from Mariah Fischer. My name is Mariah Fischer, and I am speaking to you tonight as the president of Novato Federation of Teachers. Thank you, Debbie Butler, for reading my comments. I have rewritten this public comment so many times since March 7th, my fingers hurt. Though the hard work to pass the parcel tax failing, and now all of this. It's a real struggle to figure out what to say tonight and how to say it. Each time I think I've finished writing it, something comes along that makes it all seem so irrelevant. When Jonathan Ferrer, Fran Rosoff, Amy Carter, and I sat down to brainstorm what district learning might look like, none of us had any idea what we were doing. We didn't know if we were even going to close, let alone how long we might actually be closed for. We tried to look at all angles. We tried to flesh out potential concerns and address pockets of people who might need additional support, and we gave it our best shot. I think we did a great job, and I'm amazed at how quickly and unconditionally our members jumped in. We have all taken risks, learned new skills, and given 150% of ourselves to trying to do what is best for our students. Jonathan, Amy, and I agree it might need to be looked at again, and even during the first or second week they have blended together, we agreed that there would need to be a 2.0. I've sent emails trying to indicate that conversation. We need a 2.0, and NUSD and NFT need to have that conversation before spring break so adjustments can be made. There are many districts that closed doors with no immediate district learning, then decided to open. Those teachers had days to prep and be trained. They created videos, documents, and classrooms during work hours. Then they began. There are other districts that currently have 1 day off a week to prep, meet, and plan. I'm not saying I know what the answer is, but I'm saying we need more time in our day to meet and share with our colleagues and more time to prep between the hours of 9 and 2 p.m. We need to acknowledge that there is going to be a learning loss. The culture of caring model needs to be put at the forefront of all academics. Teachers and students are more stressed right now than I have seen in my 17 years in education. The pressure on teachers to prepare students for the fall is so heavy right now, and that pressure is falling from the teachers to the students. We need to recognize that this is the environment. Less is more. Through both the failure of the parcel tax and this online learning transition, what I have seen is that the community of Nevada loves their teachers. Parents and the community have shown so much respect and admiration for teachers through all of this. It's been the fuel that keeps many of us going. I have heard many administrators acknowledge that hard work teachers are doing right now. They see that teachers are going above and beyond, and while it's nice to be seen, it's time to make the changes necessary to help us make it through this, however long it may last. The next time the bargaining team is sitting at the table negotiating over salary, I hope you remember this critical time in education where NUSD was looked at as a model, as a district that has incredible teachers who in many ways sacrificed their own mental health to give all they could do to their students. When the teachers did not receive a half of their potential salary increase and showed up 200% more than what was expected anyway. Thank you. All right, that concludes our non-agenda public comment. And like I said, I will send those on to the board when the meeting is concluded. And we will move on to our discussion action item. We have two items this evening. And the first item up is 7A, which is the Measure G bond, Phase 2, District Minimum Facility Standards for Middle and Elementary Schools, and approval of 3 school site projects not meeting District Minimum Facility Standards. And I will turn it over to Mike Woolard, who will be presenting.
Thank you, President Bollard. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. So make sure that
Yes.
headphones on. So in previous meetings, Mr. Hawkins and myself have presented a couple different portions of what we call the Phase 2 bond program, mostly the planning phases of how we can proceed with remaining roughly $103 million out there. And previously, the last couple of months, you've approved different phases, and this is the next phase, which is a 2-phased, as you mentioned, looking for this board approval to adopt elementary and middle school district minimum facility standards. And based on those, we're also looking for board approval of 3 school site projects that currently staff feels do not meet those minimum standards. So with that, I'd like to get into the presentation. Oops. So what we've done so far, obviously way back in 2016, we had the master plan followed by the Measure G bond election that was approved. Based on that, we successfully created a bond implementation committee, which made great recommendations on how to spend the first portion, or what we call phase one of the Measure G bond. And then based on that, the board approved those phase one projects. And then we had a couple additional phase one projects that were added to that list. It includes the AC at some of the school sites and the turf fields at Nevada High as examples. I guess I could have used that button. Sorry. And next, one of the next phases that, the things that the board approved under the phase two was deferred maintenance. We did a couple presentations on about $44 million of deferred maintenance over a 10-year life cycle, or 10-year cycle from 2020 to 30, and the board approved that. And then the next portion was the phase two allocations, which were by category. And as we presented that, the board approved a certain amount for elementary school, for middle school, high school, which also included the turf project at San Marin High School, our IT One to World program, and of course that deferred maintenance I just mentioned. And we also have an item for new air conditioning. That's the remaining sites that did not have it as of yet. That includes Nevada High School, the Hill Campus, Lou Sutton, and Rancho Elementary Schools. And then we have the other category, which is also the Hill Campus, Marin Oaks, the Charter School, and then C Street. So what's left is tonight we're presenting the district minimum facility standards for the elementary and middle schools. And then also the three projects we're recommending for board approval that currently we don't feel meet those standards. And then following that, we'll get to the final phase of, or the final portion of phase two, which will be based on remaining funding in those categories, how to spend those on the projects for the rest of the bond program. So that'll be at a future meeting. But back to the district minimum facility standards. Just to let you know how we came up with those, we used a lot of resources. Obviously, we looked back into our facilities master plan that included a lot of identified work. It was organized a bit differently, but it had utility work, it had ADA improvements, it had specific projects and a lot of other things. So we made use of a lot of those. We reached out to the many architect firms we've used and are currently using and have used in the past to get their experience and input. We also used our construction team, which is Greystone West and some other folks. And also, probably most importantly, our instructional leadership here through the district and out at our sites to help us move forward and develop these standards. So to the standards, and I really want to emphasize these district minimum facility standards are just that, they're the minimum. And we define the minimum as code compliancy required to operate a safe and healthy environment for kids to learn. It's not what we call the nice to haves or need to haves, it's the have to haves to meet compliance. And it's kind of general in some of these sections, but it incorporates a lot of specifics under each one. So as I go through these, just get a brief explanation, but classrooms, obviously a safe place to learn. At elementary school level, you have a multi-purpose room, which obviously serves many different functions, PE class, gym class, talent shows, meeting areas, assemblies, all those kinds of things. Obviously a front office and an admin building that you need to have at the front of every campus, a library, lunch table, shade area. At our schools, we don't have a dedicated inside space for eating, but a lot of sites have the lunch tables and shaded area. That is a needed thing. Again, at the elementary school level, you have a playground for the lower level grades, and you have fields and blacktop to cover the PE and the break times during lunch. We also have, as the board just approved, air conditioning at school sites. Every school site needs to have a kitchen to prepare those meals that are served out at the lunch tables in the shaded area. Obviously, restrooms for health. And furniture, you need to have the right furniture and safe furniture that kids can sit at to learn from. Classroom, AV technology. This is not so much based on a compliance standard, but our use of technology as we move forward and how we educate our students. And to support that, we need a robust Wi-Fi. And then facilities infrastructure, which I would call that deferred maintenance. A lot of the utilities and required stuff that people don't really think about till they don't work, roofs, HVAC equipment, concrete pavement, those kinds of things. And the last four that I mentioned, the furniture, the classroom, AV, the Wi-Fi, and the facilities are all currently board approved projects that we're moving forward with in one way or another. As we move forward to the middle school, you notice that a lot of them are the same. The only big difference is instead of a multi-purpose room, we have a gym with locker rooms. That's to support the PE at level 6, grade level 6 through 8. We also, instead of just a playground and a blacktop with fields, we have a sports field for PE and track as well, and then a blacktop to cover the various different classes provided within the PE structure. And pretty much everything else is about the same. And again, we have the same 4 categories at the end that have already been board approved, and we're moving forward to work on some of those projects. So to kind of give you a summary of where we're at with this phase 2, what you have here on the left is the table, and based on the allocations that were approved at a previous meeting by the board, we currently have about a little under 26 million for the elementary schools, about 18 million for the middle schools, 4 million at the high school. If you remember, that's for the synthetic turf project at San Marin. One to World, we have remaining 3 million to continue out to make that the 10-year program. Deferred maintenance was at 44 million, I mentioned before. And we need about 7 million to get the rest of those campuses that currently do not have AC. And then the other category is the Hill Campus and C Street and Charter School. So a little over $103 million. And based on those standards I just talked to you about, staff went through with all of our resources. And based on those minimum facility standards, we identified 3 projects that we think absolutely need to be done to bring those specific sites up to those standards. And these 3, no surprise, Pleasant Valley Elementary School kitchen. And I'll show for each of these 3, I have a little more information and some photos to show exactly what I'm talking about. But we need about $1 to $2 million to create a code compliant, approved by the county health department kitchen to prepare and serve food at Pleasant Valley Elementary School. For Olive Elementary School, the admin building, the front office is currently what people call the backside of campus. It's off of Plum Street. You have to walk through the campus for the drop-off area to get to the office. It's kind of backwards. For safety and security reasons, we absolutely think it needs to be relocated to the front of the campus. And it's about $3 million to construct that new building. And then similar to the first one at Sinaloa Middle School, the kitchen there is woefully undersized, non-compliant, and it's barely meeting the need right now due to the strong efforts of the staff, but they need about $1.5 to $2 million to expand their kitchen to be code compliant, to do everything they need to do to meet the student needs for food. And as I talked about the dollar amounts on the left side, these 3 projects were identified would come off of the top of those numbers on the left. So for example, there's about 26 million in elementary school. We've identified between 4 to 5 million for these 2 projects at the elementary school level. So that will leave about 20 to 21 million in elementary school to use for the remaining projects that we'd like to see done. So going down, just again to summarize, right now there's about 44 million for both elementary and middle school at the phase 2 level. We've identified about 5.5 to 7 million that we need to do for those 3 projects to meet those district minimum facility standards, which would leave about 37 to 38.5 million dollars to be allocated between the elementary and the middle school projects. So that's what we mean when we say off the top. So just to give you an idea, more specifics of those 3 projects, Pleasant Valley Kitchen had some great opportunity to take some photos. Basically, what they have in their multi-purpose room is what I would call a residential kitchen. And it looks pretty much like my townhouse did back in the 1970s, including the Harvest Gold countertop. But what you can see is they can't do anything at this campus. Basically, food is prepared offsite at San Ramon Elementary School, driven over. If you look at the middle picture, you see those warmer pouches, like the pizzas come in when you order them for delivery. And that's what the food comes in. And then the great staff there at site, as you can see in the upper left-hand picture, what the one picture is covering is the warmer boxes, and she's putting together trays and then handing them to the kids to get a hot lunch. So this space just doesn't meet any of the needs. And currently the county health department will not allow us to use any space on this campus to do anything except serve food. It has to be heated and prepared and moved over from another campus. The upper right-hand picture for that part of it that you can see is where they had a prep area identified. It's an old custodian closet, and there is a refrigerator, a warming oven, and what you can't see is a countertop, and I think some prep space. And you can't do anything in this. There's improper ventilation, improper plumbing. We don't have a 3-compartment sink, and it's not the right space. So for all of these reasons, we need to invest in this school to bring it up to that minimum standard so that they can prepare and serve food out of their own site. Moving to Olive Admin Building project. Again, this is a visual of satellite view. If you could look at the top thumbtack, it identifies the current main office, and you basically have to turn off of Olive Avenue about a half a mile or a quarter mile away, turn left and go back behind Plum Street to come back into the back of the school. And most of the kids are dropped off at the front of the school where you see the lower thumbtack. And it's just, if you go into park and want to visit your kid in the classroom, you have to walk by all the classrooms to go check into the front office and then go back. It's just very inefficient. And when you start looking at the safety and security issues of our campuses, this just does not meet that need. So based on that, we highly recommend building a new admin building where we see the red rectangle, which is right. It's currently not on the blacktop, but it's just a green space right now. But that would effectively allow people to drop off in the front, walk right to the office, and then go into the inner sanctum of the campus. So that explains that one. And our last project is the Sinaloa kitchen at Sinaloa Middle School. I happened to be there the day, at the time of the day they were serving lunch. The top left staff member is very excited because she just asked what I was doing. And I said, I was just taking a picture to document how we need to get you a better kitchen. And she was very excited to hear that. As you can tell, this kitchen is also very undersized. And if you look at the middle picture, you can see they had to actually add what they call a speed line outside to meet the need and demand of all the kids getting lunch within the time frame to make sure they could get a hot meal and eat it within the allocated lunchtime. So they've made do with what they had to try to meet the need. But what I needed to show is when I walked into the kitchen on that upper left picture, I can stand and touch both walls with my hands spread out side to side, which is about 8 feet, not very wide at all. So for the same reasons as identified with the other elementary school kitchen, this one does not meet county health department requirements. Matter of fact, we have to clean the dishes here off-site because we don't have the space or the proper equipment to do it according with the county health rules. So again, for these reasons, definitely need to upgrade this kitchen to meet standards. So based on that information, again, just want to remind the board that we're looking to get approval for the elementary and the middle school district minimum facility standards, and also approve those projects I just explained in a little detail that we feel currently don't meet those standards, so we can bring those up to standards. And then just as a reminder, the next presentation we'd be bringing to the board would start the kickoff of how to spend that remaining money at the elementary school and middle school levels based on some interactions we'd have with staff at the sites to develop the needed project at each site. So with that, I'm happy to entertain any questions and provide any additional information.
Debbie, I got a question.
Yep, Trustee Cooper and then Trustee Mac.
Thanks, Mike. Really good job. Just 2 quick questions. What is the timeline that you're looking to get this? When would this actually go to construction?
If we got board approval tonight, we would move ahead and try to get these projects started in next summer of 2020, 2021. So it'll be the summer of 21. It takes about that long to lead up to do the planning and proper preparation for the projects.
Okay. And then finally, with respect to the kitchen, obviously not Olive, but are you just building out the existing footprint, or are we moving walls and all that?
Well, we'd have to actually make a bigger space. So moving walls, whether we move into the gym, which is not recommended, because there's also that project we need to validate about what to do with their existing gym. Right now, we haven't really dove too deep on options, but there's enough area up there to build an appropriate sized kitchen, whether it's in the exact same location or it moves a little bit, but it would be in the generally same area.
All right. Thank you, Debbie.
Okay, Trustee Mac.
Yeah, actually, Trustee Cooper asked my question. So really, there's just gonna be no change in footprint. It's just gonna be a rearrangement of within the existing walls.
It would be bigger. It'd have to be a bigger square footage to get the proper equipment that you need to get in.
Okay. All right. And then one thing I noticed is that the cost for the Olive building is one number, while the other kitchen projects are a range. And I'm guessing, after hearing your answer, but just to confirm, it's just because they'll get to sort out exactly how we're going to do it.
Exactly. An admin building is a very well-known cost per square foot, and you need a certain size square foot building for the offices. We have a lot of that data known, so we could get a more consistent estimate. And the other ones we provided a range because we just didn't quite have enough information right now to give you a more defined estimate. Obviously, if the board approves these, we will come back at the schematic design level and give you a lot more detail in designs and costs.
Okay, and then last question is with regard to those costs. Obviously, we had some, kind of negative experience with the costs of the prior projects going through the roof because of the fires, et cetera. Any kind of a risk to those numbers that you see similarly?
Again, right.
Fire.
Not to be give you a lawyer response, but this is a very preliminary estimate, and we tried to be conservative so we could give you a ballpark figure. Could they go up? They could. There's a lot of factors unknown, especially with the current health crisis we're in. Will material costs can continue to go up? We're not sure. We've started finding out some sources of supply for our current projects are hitting some issues with the health crisis. So how long that impact goes, we're not sure, but we tried to give it our best estimate with a little conservative cost in there. But I would say there is a chance it could come in, plus or minus 500,000 at this point, depending.
Anything else, Trustee Mac?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, then I had Trustee Millerick.
Yeah, a couple of questions. I like the model of identifying a standard that we're going to comply to and then picking projects off of that list. So thank you for that approach. The one I want to talk about is the Olive new multi office administration. I get the kitchens. Exactly. Thank you for changing slides. I appreciate that. So that campus is always, that's the model that campus is run under. So this is a significant, $3 million expenditure. Well, we're going to be tight on funds for everything. So how could you describe the benefits? It's obviously not just construction, it's operation of the campus. And
exactly. It's not tied to a compliance code thing per se, like the kitchens are. But again, if you look at all of our other school sites, we pretty much have a front of campus, as we call it. And part of this too is we're getting input from our safety and security security analysis that we just got out. We'll be putting that out to the board here soon. And it goes to the safety and security of the school site and how it operates and efficiencies. And again, we worked with our instructional leadership here at the district and also our architects. And as you design a school from scratch, the first thing you have is your front of campus. So it's more under the safety umbrella. But again, as we evaluated all the other campuses in the district, this one really stood out as the only one that doesn't have a front of campus. Not to say that the other ones are perfect, but they do have, as you come on a campus, there's an admin building and that front of campus feel right there where you can filter and address the public as you let them into your campus. In addition, what I didn't mention is the office is also adjacent to the 2 kindergarten classrooms with the playground next to it. Not the best place to have your front office either.
Okay. Thank you for that response. And the other thing that I'm concerned about is I know we're currently out to bid for part of the network for the 2 largest campuses, the high schools, and you've identified in your minimum criteria a robust Wi-Fi. I assume that means the whole campus is. This last couple of weeks have taught us Novato's ability to use technology to teach has allowed us to continue with the education, basically nonstop. Thank you to our teachers. But also thank you to the forward-looking policies we've established. So in your budget, the money we're not talking about tonight, are there funds for the networks on all the other campuses? Because they're all probably 20 years old and need to review.
A great question. Actually, the board's already approved our IT infrastructure upgrade project, which was district-wide. I think it was don't quote me on this, but it's roughly $11-12 million. And the high schools are the first portion of that. And so that whole project funding is dedicated to upgrade all of the school sites. We just started with the high school.
So the money for that is set aside and in that approved outline item.
Correct.
And not open. Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you very much.
Any other trustees? Trustee
Yes.
Gasson? Okay.
Yeah,
Trustee
yeah.
Gasson?
Go ahead, Trustee Gasson. I know we're Maria.
I have a question.
Sorry, I had myself on mute. So I think you indirectly said something, but my thought is with respect to the Sinaloa kitchen. So it wouldn't preclude them necessarily from, if they wanted to redo the gym, and roll this into it like it is now, or I mean, what's the timing on? I mean, I totally think that these projects need to be done. So I'm excited about that. But I guess my thought is that, you know, as we move forward, is it going to be something that we can roll in to another project that's there and maybe save some money? Or
Absolutely. Another great point. As you remember, the board's already approved in phase 1 and then voted to push it to phase 2 was the Sinaloa gym project. So we absolutely would do these in conjunction. Matter of fact, as we would move forward, if the board approved this tonight, we would do those at the same time. We're just not quite sure what the scope of work would be for either one as of yet, but we would definitely look into the options and combine these together to save as much money as we could. Just makes sense.
okay, I guess I was under the impression that we're kind of going back to the drawing board and figuring out what the middle schools needed now. And can you hear my kids' music in the back? So I was just trying to figure out, you know, just making sure. I know that the last time that we met, I believe it was, I asked about how much funding there was if both schools, well, I guess it's 3 schools technically, but having enough money to do some significant projects. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't jump off and do this and then go, okay, well, what are we doing next? So as long as all the ducks are in a row, then that's good.
Correct.
So, thank you.
Trustee Aguila?
Yeah, thank you. I was wondering about the kitchens when you making the new changes in the kitchen. I've gotten some feedback regarding windows. I know that sometimes it gets really hot, even in August when they come back in, and it's already hot, and they're cooking and like, for example, other schools like San Jose Middle School where they have a window, but they can't open the window for several reasons. I'm just wondering about the new, this new kitchens in these schools. Will you make sure that the windows? I mean, what is your? I didn't see any window plan here. I just don't know. Like, are you going to install windows that will be allowed to open and close as they wish, as staff wishes, or? What are your thoughts on that?
Great question too. What we do is build this to the current code compliance, which would be a lot more ventilation. I know that both kitchens have almost none. So we'd put in the proper ventilation that would exhaust all that heat from the warming ovens and other places out. And we'd also make it as efficient as possible. Absolutely, you'd have to have windows because there's a server component to these kitchens. And then we'd also, since we've now we're air conditioning campuses, we would try to see if we could tie these in. So we definitely address the current issues. And I've been to these kitchens on hot days, and I can verify with you that yes, they are very, very hot and uncomfortable to work in during some hot days. So I think with meeting the current code requirements for ventilation and some other efficiencies we can make with current HVAC systems that we have, or putting in these campuses, that we will be able to definitely make it a lot cooler for the staff working in there.
But will they be able to open the windows, or?
Well, as I understand it, both have to have a server window function, whether that window is internal to, say, a multi-purpose room, or as the current one at Sinaloa Middle School, it's external to the outside. We would definitely have to have that. So we definitely will have windows. Whether they continue to open to outside or not, I'm not sure. We would be able to flush that out as we did more detailed design and came up with more ideas to present to you at the board for future consideration and approval.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Nell, did you have something? I didn't.
No, I'm fine. I've been following, and I'm in agreement with the plan. So just
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Mac, did you have something you wanted to add?
Just a real quick one, and this is minor, but for the Olive Building, we're probably gonna need to change the address because right now the campus is on Plum Street officially in terms of address.
Correct. That'd be something to easily do.
Right.
Okay, I don't have any additional comments. There were great questions from trustees. Oh, Trustee Cooper?
Yeah, quick one. I just want to chime in on kind of where my thought process on this. I originally was thinking that we really don't need to spend. I mean, when we're getting down to the end of our funding for Measure G, and there's a lot of projects, a lot of need in the district. That why are we moving this building? But then I had a conversation with Mike, and I think most of why I think it's a good idea moving the building is the security, because that's really important. Things are going. It's a strange new world that we're in right now, and there are a lot of things going on around schools and school safety. And I think it's it may seem superfluous, but I don't think it is. I think it's the smart thing to do. So I just wanted to chime in.
No, that's great. Thank you. I agree with that as well. I like that you've developed these minimum standards. That helps us quite a bit in making the decisions of what the major needs are at each, at school sites. What are the priorities? What do they need to have? And it makes the process a little bit easier. You've brought several reports to the board leading up to this one, so we appreciate that as well. So thank you for presenting this. This is a discussion action item, just to remind the board, if there's no further questions, I don't see anybody. Speak up if you have anything else.
One quick thing.
Yes.
And just to kind of add on to what Tom was saying, because I do think it's important for, this is a bit rhetorical for Mike, but can we talk a little bit to what's going to happen to the old office and how much that space is needed for instruction?
Sure, as I understand it, and I will defer to Yancy if I'm missing some key information, but as I understand it, they have some needs for some additional classroom space. If they need a TK space, that's a great place to put it right next to the kindergarten or some other classroom needs. It will definitely get used. Obviously, if you can convert this to classroom space, you have the opportunity to get rid of portable classrooms, which we all know are great short-term fixes, but terrible long-term solutions. So that's the game plan, is to currently reconfigure those to meet the classroom needs at the campus.
Okay.
Yeah, I will reiterate on what Mike said about that. We will repurpose that for TKK, early learning, getting all of those classes together. And to Tom's point, when we worked with our architects, this was actually the biggest outlier in their opinion. It was this project of getting the admin building to the front of the campus, for security and other logistics for the campus. They actually said it was the biggest outlier on any of our campuses.
Okay. Can I add San Jose's kitchen? I'm assuming they're at a point where they're okay, being that they're not.
Yes, they actually have two kitchens, an upper one at the at their gym. They have a prep space,
right.
And warming space, and then they have a distribution space down in the quad.
Yeah, you tend to only see the distribution space. You don't realize the other spaces.
Right. Now, are they, again, I go back to that little definition of minimum standards that I presented. It's functional, barely. It meets, but is it where we want it to be? No, but it's functional and it's usable. So based on that, it currently meets those minimum standards we were establishing.
Okay.
And
all right.
President Butler, it very likely could be in the next list of.
That's what I'm assuming. Yeah.
Of middle school projects when we are meeting with the sites to identify the next needs. I think Mike made a great point about it meets the minimum standards, but it obviously could use an upgrade.
Okay. Thank you for that.
When did you say that, Yancy? I missed it. When?
After the board approves the minimum standards for elementary and middle school and any projects needed to meet those standards, we will come back after meeting with sites and administration and our construction team with additional recommendations for the remainder of the little less than $40 million of middle school and elementary school projects. And that could be on that list. I'm not saying it is, but a project like that could be on that.
Debbie, it's Russ.
Yes, Ross. Trustee Miller.
2 points. One is Olive is, if not the oldest campus in the school district, one of the 2 oldest campuses. Putting a new administration building is going to be pretty straightforward. You know what you're getting into. Getting into that building, you're going to discover, I'm sure, many sins that have gone undealt with. So make sure you've got some reserve larger than you might as you proceed into that campus. That's just from experience. And the second question, that's just an advisory. The second is a question. In the San Jose kitchen, are they currently authorized to serve food by the county health officer? Do they meet that standard today?
Yes, they do.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Good question, Trustee Miller. Thank you.
Yes, Debbie, it's Trustee Cooper.
Trustee Cooper?
Yes, just a procedural question for you, I guess. Have we ever had, this is a discussion action item, as you know, have we had any opportunity for the public to weigh in on the standards? What we're going to be deciding tonight?
Well, we originally had it for the 17th of March.
Correct.
This board, and we delayed it just for that. That was one of the purposes, to be able to have more the community to look at it again.
Did you ever receive any comments or?
No, I did not. Did staff? I mean, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay. We didn't at our level.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure procedurally we're doing the right thing in these.
Yeah.
It's kind of new territory for us, obviously, but having the public comments important on these things.
Thank you, Trustee Cooper, for that comment.
Debbie?
Yes, Trustee Gila?
Yeah, President Butler. I wanted to just share a feedback that I got from a worker at the San Jose Middle School kitchen. And she just wanted to praise the principal she felt, that they feel very supported by the principal. And just, it's just a little shout out to all those principals who are really working hard to support the staff, especially in a place like the kitchen when it's so hard. The only thing she was talking about was the windows and how they can't open the windows, and so it gets really hot. But she was she was just so thankful for the principal just supporting all of the staff. And so that she shared how that really helps everything function when everybody supports everybody.
All right, thank you for that, Trustee Aguila, for those additional comments. Just want to remind you, this is a discussion action item. It's approval of the elementary and middle school district minimum facility standards list and the 3 school site projects, which are the elementary Olive Elementary School Administration Building relocation, the Pleasant Valley Elementary School new kitchen, and the Sinaloa Middle School new kitchen. Currently not meeting these standards are those 3 projects. So that is what staff is looking for.
I would move approval of the staff's recommendation.
I can second.
The first by Trustee Miller, a second by Trustee Aguila. All those in favor, if you could say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. See everybody. Yep. Derek, did I see you? Yep, there you are. Okay, 7-0. All right, so that passes. Thank you for that. And the remaining item on our discussion action this evening is 7B. This is board acceptance of the Measure G Bond Independent Citizens Oversight Committee 2018-19 annual report. We'll we've had one previously, and we'll continue to get these every year. So we'll turn it over again to Mike.
Okay, thank you again, President Butler. This will be quick, and usually we have the ICOC chair come to present this, but again, because of the current health issue at hand, and also the fact that he is a fire captain and has a few higher priority things to deal with at the current moment, I'm more than happy to step in and summarize on his behalf. What I'd like to do is just read you the letter that he wrote for the 2018-19 annual report. And then just after that, just show you a little bit. I have it here in the background. I can minimize things. Just to show you what it includes. We try to fine tune it every year to make it more informative. But basically, the letter is as follows. To the Board of Trustees and residents of the Nevada Unified School District, it's my pleasure as the 2019-20 chair of the NUSD Measure G Independent Citizens Oversight Committee to present on behalf of the committee the third annual report of the Measure G bond program. It covers the reporting period from July 1, 2018 through June 30, 2019. The ICOC's primary responsibility is to look back at the prior fiscal year to review and report on the expenditure of taxpayer money, ensuring that bond revenues are expended only for the purposes set forth in Measure G. This mandate has been fulfilled to date by holding review meetings, participating in a site walk to view ongoing construction projects, and receiving construction progress reports and reviewing Measure G expenditures and audits in order to make sure taxpayer monies were spent as required. The committee has reviewed the financial and performance audit for the period ending June 30.
It's 8 o'clock.
Okay, 2019, issued by our independent auditing firm, Christie White Associates. The firm conducted its audit in compliance with generally accepted government auditing standards. Christie White Associates issued an unmodified opinion that the financial statements presented fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the Measure G Bonding Building Fund of the Nevada Unified School District as of June 30, 2019. In regard to the evaluation of internal controls, the firm tested internal controls over financial reporting and compliance with laws, regulations, or provisions of contracts or agreements, and have determined through our inquiry of management and our evaluation of district processes that no significant deficiencies were noted. The auditors also tested 36% of total 2018-19 Measure G expenditures for validity, allowability, and accuracy, and concluded that the sampled expenditures were in compliance with the terms of Measure G ballot language, the district-approved facilities plan, and applicable state laws and regulations. In connection with its performance audit, Christie White Associates found that NUSD complied in all material respects with the types of compliance requirements that are applicable to the Measure G Bond Building Fund for the year ended June 30, 2019. There were no financial statement or state performance findings or recommendations. Based on this audit and other work of the committee, we would like to announce that, to the best of the committee's knowledge, NUSD was in compliance with all requirements of Measure G as set forth under the rules of Proposition 39 for the period ending June 30, 2019. The full report and more detailed information is available on the district's website at www.nusd.org/bond-information. Highlights of the committee for 2018-19 included the second annual report, which covered the reporting period from July 1st, 2017 through June 30, 2018, which was presented to and accepted by the Board of Trustees at its regular board meeting on March 19, 2019. Also, 4 regular meetings of the ICOC were held on August 22nd, 2018, September 26th, 2018, March 4th, 2019, and May 15th, 2019. Proceedings included ongoing program and project updates, including construction management overview, plan of finance updates, the performance and financial audit review presented to the committee by the district's independent auditors, as well as election of the 2019-20 chair, Mr. Eric Messenberg, and the vice chair, Ali Iqbal. The August meeting included a facilities construction site walk for the committee of 2018-19 construction projects to date, in order to verify expenditures for authorized bond projects and ascertain that they were successfully completed and continuing to completion in 2018-19 or advancing into 2019-20. 2018-19 was full of a lot of exciting activity as 5 of the largest projects for Measure G really took shape. Complete with hard hats and shovels, groundbreaking ceremonies were held at San Marin High School for the new STEM Center and Performing Arts Center, and also at Nevada High School for the new Center for the Sciences, the new Center for the Arts, as well as the new athletic field complex. Construction is currently in progress for all of these projects. Within this report, you'll also find details and photographs on all the active or completed projects for 2018-19, as well as continuing projects and new work for 2019-20. The work of the ICOC is conducted under the Brown Act. All of our meetings are open to the public and we welcome observers. If If you have any questions for the committee, we can be reached by email at icoc@nusd.org. Sincerely yours, Eric Messenberg, Chair. With that, I just wanted to show real quick the newsletter. We have his letter here, the first 2 pages, and some golden shovel ceremony photos there. Then we have the committee for that year. And then below, we tried to provide a little bit of update of what happened during the year. Obviously, a little blurb on what the committee is about, what they do. Then we get into some of the financials. Here's our issuance for the bond. We've issued 2 of our series so far. I have 2 planned issuances left. And then we have expenditures. On the left is how much we've issued of the bond, almost half. And then on the right, we believe did about $18.5 million or so cumulatively so far up to the end of 2019. And then when we tried to, last expenditures table summary, we have what was expended during the single year, 18-19, and then the cumulative for the life of the bond. So actually, we're up to 18.6 million. That number will go up dramatically next year based on our current projects to date. And the last part of the the annual report, we tried to change it and be more descriptive and visually show what's going on and what's happening. So we tried to incorporate a lot of construction pictures. I know you've seen many of these in these reports and also in the reports to the board, just so somebody could pick it up and really see what's going on, how much we've progressed on these big projects throughout the district. So with that, I'd like to open up any questions and just remind the board we are looking for board acceptance of the Measure G ICOC 2018-19 annual report.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any questions from the board? Speak up.
I just want to say thank you to the committee and for all the Measure G people and the taxpayers' money. You know, the taxpayers who use their money for this, and actually now we look back to some of the things that we're going through right now. You know, I believe that here we have the students that are able to use their Chromebooks to survive this times. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Gila. Trustee Gasson?
Hi, thanks for the detailed report. I actually like how this is laid out and all the information in it. It's always helpful. I think sometimes people don't realize all that we really are doing with those funds that we've got. 2 questions that I have. First, I noticed, and I've been on the parcel tax oversight committee for a long time. And one thing I noticed is there wasn't any reference to any board member, and I didn't notice it till just now. Does any trustee sit on the committee as well?
Yes, we have Trustee Cooper is the board member that sits on.
Okay, because I know. Okay, on our report when we do the parcel tax, I'm on it as a non-voting or I forget how it's referenced, but might want to look at having him added on it for the next time. The other question I had, again, having sat on the parcel tax oversight, I know that it's not their responsibility or the members' responsibility to make decisions, but I was hoping that when we get to this next step of what we are going to be funding, if we can look at having the, if the committee wants to have any input on that or any discussion, if that will be happening.
As we try to figure out the next steps on what group we get together to sort of help us make recommendations to the board for the remainder of that phase 2 funding. Absolutely. As ICO members are also members of the community, we could definitely look into that to see what's possible.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of the reason I mentioned it. There were some people here that obviously are involved in the community and would have a lot of good input, even if their kids are not specifically in the schools. So that was it. So thank you for all this information.
Okay, anybody else? No? Okay, I think it was, what I also noticed was that the auditors did a site tour, which I thought was great. A facility site tour. facility site walk, which is on page 18. So I just don't recall that from all the other audits we did with the 2001 audits and seeing them actually go on. Usually it's just the financial piece and making sure the paperwork is done. And
I give her a hard hat and we walked around and she was quite excited, I think, happy to get out of the office, but she definitely was interested and asked a lot of good questions about each project. So it was fun.
This is a great, result is we've got a great audit. Can't get any better than this. And a lot of that goes to Mike and Melissa, who are overseeing the bond funds and the projects. And that's the administration of all of this. Their salaries get paid out of the bond itself. And they're doing great work. The projects are happening. They're crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's. And that's really important that the money is spent properly and our our bond committee is signing off on all of that. So I feel like we have everything in place to make sure this gets spent properly. So, and obviously the audit speaks to that, clean audit. So thank you for that. As Mike said, this is a discussion action and needs approval of the board.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so first by Trustee Aguila.
I'll second.
A second by Trustee Mac. And approval of the 18-19 annual audit for the Measure G bond funds. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Maria? Maria?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Aye.
thank you. I just can't see you on the screen.
I noticed. Yeah.
Okay, that's 7-0. So thank you very much. That is all of our items. Thank you, Mike. This was the Mike show. That does conclude our meeting for this evening, and our next regular scheduled board meeting is April 21st. We'll most likely will have a closed session beginning at 6 o'clock and the regular scheduled open session beginning at 7. And just before we close, trustees, I know we had an email to us that we needed a signature from all of us, and I hope that we can get to the district office with our own pen to sign that document that helps us get our funding for the smoke days. To make sure we get that funding for the district. So it's important that we get all of our signatures on that. All right. So I will sign off.
I'll drop by tomorrow.
Okay. And they need that by Thursday, I think it is, or something like that. So there is
Are
a
we adjourning the
deadline.
meeting, Debbie?
6 o'clock on the 21st. Is that what you're talking about, Ross?
Are we adjourning this meeting now? Or?
Yes, we are adjourning this meeting now. And
I will move to adjourn so we have it on the record.
yes, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
We're going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for the flexibility.
Good night.
Thank you.
Adjourn 8:09.
Wow, that's the fastest one ever.
Okay.